Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you're new here. My name is Death by Pony, and last we left off, we were playing some sweet video games on a Switch with Derek. So without further ado, let's hop into this. I didn't think this would go on so long. This is like playing an entire step of the game. But it's fine, we're gonna keep going. But the light outside is dimming, so we're gonna turn the light on. Derek flopped back down on the couch. Oh, we already read that. Ready to jump back in?
You've got
You
it.
know it. The TV's change in brightness as the game resumed from the dimmer pause menu was noticeable. Squinting, you listened to the familiar music playing through the speakers until your eyes adjusted. Though it wasn't long before the game managed to suck you in once again. As the game accelerated in the most important moments, neither you nor Derek could be contained by your own seats. You kept pushing and pressing into each other on the couch. The night slipped by joyously. At one point, you took turns watching the other work through some single-player content. Despite Derek's usual position as the responsible one, you unknowingly stayed up, gaming late into the night. Gradually, your eyelids drooped. Your laughter was replaced by yawns, and your voices grew softer until there were whispers floating into cottony-filled ears. The last thing you heard was the melody of the game's music still playing, sounding so far away. You returned to awareness slowly. Your eyes were still heavy, and you rubbed at them. Crushed into your cushion were exactly where you started your virtual explosion last night, off and on, white couch with Derek. Your head was on the end while his was on the opposite side. Derek's legs were awkwardly tucked underneath your arm and lower back. It couldn't have been comfortable for him either. Instead of collapsing onto the floor, you'd fallen over each other. Despite your blurry vision, you could make out his apologetic smile. Derek was already awake. He let out a low chuckle with a far more life in it than anyone who'd just been unconscious would have.
Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't want to risk waking you up by moving. We've been kind of stuck like this for a while. Good-humoredly, he winked. Having a sleepover in the living room grown-ups definitely has one perk over doing it as kids. Said perk was interrupted by the sound of ringing phone. Derek's eyes widened as he shifted to reach the phone on the coffee table. He checked the caller ID, disbelieving smirk across his face as his
Are
whisper.
you serious?
No way! You can guess whose mere call would get that reaction. He slid his finger across the screen and tapped the speaker button. He leaned back into the couch and stretched out an arm. From the fond twist of his lips, you knew at least he had someone close to him. Hey, Nico.
Hey.
Morning, bro. Good morning. I'm also here. Nice. Nico, you're calling so early. You listen curiously. Good morning. Ari, you're actually the one I wanted to talk to. I just called Derek so I wouldn't have to bother you if you were still sleeping. Oh, and I didn't need my sleep? Dude, you're the most morning-y person to ever early rose. Ooh. Ooh. Nicholas Suarez really did not know Cove Holden. That was one competition. Cove took the golden every time. Yeah, you get up so early, a night owl could give you a high five on the way to bed. You'll hit the gym before. Suddenly, stand-up routine broadcast into Derek's living room was cut off prematurely. Nico definitely could have kept going. Okay, we heard you the first time. Hey, you asked for it. Derek pointed a judgmental finger towards the phone. The only thing he said was quietly to you. This kid. He lifted his voice up not to let the conversation drag.
Up?
So what's up? What do you think? Ari's leaving soon, aren't they? So when will you come over to see me? Now? Soon? Derek theatrically rolled his eyes inwardly, laughing at Nicholas's eagerness. Well, we've got to talk about it. I mean, me and Ari, not me and you. Ari is here already. Sorry, Nico. I'm gonna have to share. We have to sort it out. I'll let you know.
Fine.
Alright, see you later. Yeah, I promise. Bye. We'll definitely see you. Take care. You thought that went as well as it could have. We'll definitely see you. Bye, Ari. Derek pressed the red button on his phone screen and ended the call. Nicholas's gesture really was sweet. It might have been years since you last babysat him, but you still held a special attachment for him that you didn't for any other teen. Derek let out another long sigh, still holding the phone in the air, and looked up at the device as if it was a magic wand.
Oh, man.
I should have figured. Derek, what were you going to say before he called? Derek shook his head. weary expression. I was about to say that with my own place, we didn't have to worry about little brothers interrupting our peaceful morning together. Technology has proven me wrong. You snorted. Nicholas didn't even need to call a sidekick. The timing was prophetic. Speaking of the devil, right? He must have called as soon as he dragged himself out of bed. Typical Nico. He shrugged a singular shoulder, then reached down to place his phone on the table again.
No problem.
We can still take it easy, though. You should take it easy as possible for a stressful trip. He carefully disentangled himself from you and got to his feet. You flopped down onto the couches. He slipped out, suddenly blessed with more space. You pushed yourself up and settled into a sitting position. I'm going to take a shower and everything. Then we should have breakfast. You finally left the mild comfort couch, shaking off the remaining sleep. Go for it. Wash that hair. I have to get ready too.
Talk to you later.
See you soon. With that, he headed off to the back of the apartment. You skipped to your room and began normal morning routine after a particularly not normal start to the day. Derek's insistence on planning plague pajamas had certainly worked out in ways you hadn't foreseen. Maybe he had an inkling of it. With the two game-loving brothers, it was possible he had practically dozed off on the controller before. While changing your wrinkled clothes, your phone buzzed with text from your sister. Liz was giving you the heads up that she was going to pop in to see some friends in the afternoon while she had the chance, but she'd be there to see you off before the end of the day. You typed a quick message, letting her know that it was cool, and sent it. When you finished your morning ritual, you returned out to the main area of the apartment. Finished with his own daily prep, Derek had made his way back to the couch. He couldn't stay away for long. Welcome back. Thank you. Hunger had become third wheel to your party at this point. You got to work sending it on its way. You and Derek threw something together and had a relaxed meal. It was all good. The two of you could pretend that this wasn't the last time you'd be waking up together for who knew how long. Oh, Liz texted while you were gone. She's going to see us after she does some friend stuff. It'll be evening, probably. He nodded along and looking shocked. Liz grew up in the area, too. She had plenty of roots to water in that land.
Anyway.
Speaking of people to see, my family's coming over here today. So is Liz, but we've got to ask your mom still. They're going to want to say bye, I bet. Can Mr. Holden come too? For sure. Thanks for letting them visit. I'll text them. Of course, it's going to be so cool to open my place to the grown-ups after being their guest a billion times. And I love having you here with me. It's like we're living together for real permanently, as if you weren't just a guest.
That's a bummer.
Too bad it's gotta end. All morning he'd appeared giddy, excited by your presence. That light still shone through, but averting your eyes from reality wasn't a foolproof strategy. He'd accidentally broken the illusion. He pressed his lips together tight with brown pulls tensely. Today's gotta be big. It's the last chance. We should do something you couldn't do anywhere else. You braced yourself for the coming conclusion and smiled. You have the best idea. Yes, let's do it. Now, how to end this trip on a bang. The last chance. Those 3 words came back, soft, more fragile echo in the original, yet they held even more weight. Well, you paused to take a deep breath, intentional breath, then plainly offered a suggestion. We could go to the boardwalk.
What do you think?
It's even further away than the water park, and we'd probably have to leave after only an hour, but we could make it if you want to. What do you think? Derek's normally clear eyes were clouded with emotion. The boardwalk was a special place for him. Hell yeah, are you kidding? We gotta go. That's perfect. If you want to, not. It's perfect. We gotta go. You could run out the door right now. It can't be too early.
Let's get to it.
Yes, let's do it. He was halfway to jumping to his feet before he realized where he was. As soon as we finish our food, obviously. That did not seem obvious to Derek until a second ago. We could eat on the road. We'll need all the energy.
Right.
Very true. You both finished every bite of your breakfast, although you could tell that Derek was rushing. You placed your dishes in the sink after Derek's. Just leave them. I'll wash them later. You didn't comment on the slightly out of character action and instead started putting together what you needed for the trip. After you had packed up some supplies, you headed out to the car. During the drive, Derek's brain was in sharp focus. We should make it sure everyone knows that the get-together will be for dinner, a latish dinner.
I got you.
And I'll leave it to you if you want to tell the gang about our plans for the day or keep it a secret. I don't know if you want to deal with everybody asking why they weren't invited, but they were a lot more grown up than they used to be. Sometimes I forget that. The effort, the effort of keeping it hidden doesn't seem worth it. Are you kidding me? I'm bragging about this. I'll just tell them. Great idea. We'll stay hush hush. It's our secret. It's our little secret. He put a finger to his lips. I won't say a word. You can't tell everyone everything all the time. After a very long ride and some struggles with parking, Derek had to resort to circling like a vulture until a spot opened up. You and Derek were rolling under a wide blue sky in the bustling boardwalk. A boardwalk amusement park was as dizzying and dazzling as it was 10 years ago. Music was playing from the storefront, screaming, blaring out the peak of the coasters. The crowds, people were laughing and taking from all rides. You knew as soon as the scent of the sea and fried food struck your senses that this was the right call for your last stop on your trip with Derek. At your side, Derek spoke soft and sentimental. We made it. Took us long enough. Together you stepped further down the path. For a place that felt so alive, it almost uncanny how little had changed over the years. The bike rental store that was there, though they also offered shiny new electric scooters. They were still vibrant stalls offering variety of fair foods, and the two big rides, the roller coaster and the Ferris wheel, continued to tower above the bustling crowds. You were sure of one difference without needing to see it. The face painting counter would have a total stranger running it. Xavier had moved on, decorating cakes rather than children's cheeks. Still, being there was a time machine, a summer long gone, and you and Derek were two teens once again. It got your attention with enough boyish excitement to confirm it. What do you want to do while we can? We'll have to leave pretty early to make it back for the farewell dinner. But we can ride the rides, grab a treat, browse some stores, or hell, we could rent our own bikes if you want. His pure enthusiasm made frown outright impossible. You could chuckle the joy vibrating through coming to you. Your first time at the boardwalk was an experience. It was such a huge trip. Both your parents and siblings had been there, but separated into two groups. For the better or the worse, you went all across ferry boards current under your feet. Meanwhile, the adults hadn't had their heels on the floor. They were fit into pedals. The shock you felt when they gone off on bikes without a care in the world was as fresh as ever in your mind, and that was all that lingered with you. The important decisions about face painting. Nico being carried around like a sack of potatoes, snack on the bench, and sunset at the Ferris wheel. Viewing it not only in hindsight, but as an adult, made the moment even more significant. They were precious. They'd never experience your first time here again, or what it was like to be 13 when the world was only beginning to open up wide. Even so, your thoughts weren't completely tinged in rose. A fuzzy blanket of nostalgia couldn't make you forget how it almost wasn't a nice time, how it only got to stay good because one person cared enough to make certain it did. How Derek Suarez cared more for others than himself. That remains starkly true about him more than a decade later. For every brief time you'd been in an area, he gladly let Nicholas direct the activities multiple times and did his best to not let George feel left out. Along with looking out for his own family, he never let that supersede your comfort or wants, and he accommodated your sister too, after he put in all the effort to help her come to see everybody. Derek even went against all his good boy standards and snuck into an apartment complex pool for the sake of the group. You were sure he had fun, being part of the misadventure, but most times he's been a passenger in the exploits, despite having to be the person who drove everyone else. That answered Derek's question for you. I think that you shouldn't ask me what I think. This is your day to enjoy the boardwalk after spending your whole life making sure everyone else had fun here. Derek's grin collapsed open to create a crease form in his brows. He was stunned and very touched. While the appreciation was unmistakable, he hesitated to accept such an offer.
Don't worry about
You
that.
don't have to do this. It's your vacation. You've missed out on stuff too. You weren't surprised by that response, but it didn't play like rejection. He only needed some encouragement, like a kid who thought it was bad to open a present before his birthday, even if he got permission from the giver. And it's your vacation too, a working vacation, but still. Eye contact temporarily failed him. Derek watched his own foot scuff the spot where the slab of wood met another, and downturned face didn't hide the wide smile across it. Thanks, Harry. Don't thank me yet. Have some fun first. Gradually, his normal confidence returned. It wasn't a mistake. He wasn't doing something wrong. He could simply enjoy himself, and he would.
Come on.
Okay, then, if you're positive, sure. Want to get our face painted? We've got to start the day right. I had a feeling you might say that. Yeah, he laughed. That would be a wonderful idea. Yeah, definitely. I'll watch. You give a big thumbs up. Feeling he might say that. Woo! Derek spun in a half circle, resolutely thrust a hand ahead of him, straight towards the chosen destination.
Nice.
I'm gonna get whatever I want. Give me anything. The sky's the limit. The cheer in his voice, the shimmer in his eyes, were better than any thrill the boardwalk could have offered. You almost had to feel guilty yourself. He'd done you another favor by allowing you to be the one who did him a favor. The tendency to be the way it went. You weren't complaining about that particular dynamic. Hey, you getting one? Of course. Cool. With no time to lose, a plan in mind, you and Derek went to the old face painting stand with the new artist. Welcome. I've got a free spot if you see something you like. The painter was far less glamorous than Xavier, but no less friendly or worse at their job. If the new example photos were to be believed, they had their own flair and strokes and choice of color. You ushered Derek into the seat. It was his day, and for once he was going to go first, after you. He appreciatively obliged, strutted ahead, and hopped up into the raised chair. Derek had no embarrassment over being an indulgent face painting style. It was nice to see. Oh, excellent. What can I get you? Derek took a polite glance at the offered styles on display, though he didn't need any time to decide. How about a shooting star? Good choice. The artist wasn't simply being polite. Well, they might have been, but shouldn't if they were. Derek beamed like a star himself. Nothing could have fit better. Taking it from point to point before attaching a long tail, soon Derek's cheek was emblazoned by a bright star streaking across his face. But they hadn't finished yet. The stall had upped its production value since they were last here. The artist added his finishing touch of glitter to the centerpiece, and it was painted sparkles over the basic tail.
Whoa.
Would you look at his face? He looks so shocked. Like he can't believe he just got that done. It was a pleasant surprise for Derek as well. He'd been sure of what he was getting and ended up with more. Hopefully that would be a pattern for things to come. Thank you. Derek shook the hand of the artist vigorously before bounding out of the chair to show you. Check it out. Not bad, huh?
Man.
Honestly, I always thought the shooting star was the coolest. Had the most going on out of any of the options, but not exactly Nico's style. It's a perfect fit. You're a great big brother. I think it's cool. You deserve a gold star. You deserve a gold star. Oh. He let out a snort while only barely stopping himself from slapping his freshly painted cheek. I hadn't thought about it like that, but yeah, I guess you're right. But he twisted on his heels and took 2 steps backwards. The front of the stall was clear. Derek was in place to keep watch. Your turn. Cool. You walked under the large umbrella that covered the stall and settled into the paint-splattered seat. Hello, what can I get you? It was a difficult question, but after some serious soul-searching, you said, football, soccer ball, basketball, heart, butterfly, one shooting star, 2, rainbow, sun, my face, car, skull. Another wonderful selection. For the second time, at least with you and Derek, it might have been their dozenth for the day, the painter put their talent into action. You'd forgotten how tickly bristled felt being drawn over your skin. You wonder how you managed to stay still for this long in the past, how even younger kids did it. It might be because the process wasn't too long. You were in expert hands while you'd been distracted by the usual sensation they had finished. Your skull was topped off with a dash of glitter, and the piece was complete. You smiled into the mirror. The artist angled it for you. Thank you. It's my pleasure. When you rejoined Derek outside the stall, he had admired the charming composition. It got a thumbs up from him.
Awesome.
A classic. You paid the artist for their work, just you, since you were covering Derek, and he certainly wasn't paying for you. And then it was back to the thick of the part. Derek was on his way, and you were relieved to have him directing the course without a reminder to do so. Since we're here, we've got to ride the roller coaster. Yeah, then what are we waiting for? Come on, I'd like that. You should definitely do that, but I'm not going to ride. What are we waiting for? All right. Neutral throw propelled you through the crowd, flying past souvenir shop and food stands so fast you couldn't imagine yourself already on the coaster. The line was wrapped around the whole base of the coaster, but neither of you intended to give up. You could be patient for your reward. Though patient didn't mean calm. Derek restlessly bounced from heel to toe, and repeatedly unclasped his hands, sometimes shaking his fingers out. His behavior was more appropriate for someone about to jump into a big game they'd been training for all their life. But Derek had already gone through that kind of experience for real, so it was fitting for him. The thick row of people filed forward at a gradual pace. Derek shut out, eager chattering when he got to move. He held on to his high spirits the whole while, and eventually you reached the boarding platform. Finally, the suspense of waiting to ride the ride was replaced with the anticipation of the drop. You got a middle spot in the coaster, though this was a bias towards the front. It was good with Derek, and that was good with you. Together you piled in for the ride and closed the safety bar over your laps. A check for all cars was performed as usual, and when the clear was given, a wheel cranked ahead. It pulled higher and higher in the peak of the man-made wooden mountain until, without warning, the coaster careened over the side. Derek hollered loud enough to hear over the shouts of everyone else, plus the clattering car, your teeth clattering in your head. You zoomed through the twists and turns, being jostled around like you were tossed into a tumble dryer. And then it was over. You jerked forward, and then the car speed decreased significantly at the last leg. Once the car cranked to a crawl and the roller coaster into the station, you headed across the exit on the other side, making sure not to leave anything behind. All the fellow riders went down the path into a group. Derek was out of breath and buzzing with energy. You were in a similar state. After ruffling his already completely tousled hair, Derek sighed happily.
Phew.
That was great. Yeah. He began to drift over the boards again, heading nowhere but encouraged forward by the tide of park-goers coming through. He grinned over at you with sweet as his mouthful of cotton candy. What do you want to do next? Wait, no, what do I want to do next, right? Good job. It's all up to you still. Derek and you joined in with the laugh. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, remember to hit like. That way I know you're enjoying the content I'm making you. Or to subscribe. That way YouTube brings you back here to see what happens next, and I won't take up any more of your time. Hope you have a good day, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.